Hello there. Welcome to the Hunter Moon, the full moon in Aries. And it's exciting because we have two planets at 29 degrees, which is the anaretic degree, meaning tends to be more potent, like something big could happen because it's the end of the sign, the end of the degree. So we have Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn, but it's direct again. So we're in the home stretch, okay? It's not going to retrograde through Capricorn anymore. We've made it through this last retrograde of Pluto and Capricorn. I'm sure you've felt the last 5 weeks or so have been quite intense. On some level, they're very tiring. It can play out in all sorts of ways, as we know, but it has gone direct. But it's still at 29 degrees, so an important degree, but it's direct now. So we're going to start to see things move forward. You're going to start to be ready to make decisions. You might even feel on some sort of unexplainable level like a door has been shut, or like you've walked through and now you're on another side of something. That's how it can feel. The other planet that's at 29 degrees is Venus in Scorpio, 29 degrees. Very, very strong combination there as well. Scorpio being very deep, Venus being full of desire. We have Mercury in Scorpio too. And we've got a bunch of planets in water signs. So despite the Libra Aries that goes on with the full moon, we have a lot of watery energy. We have a lot of depth. So let's take a look at how this chart is going to play out for our full moon. I'm calling it a tipping point or a turning point, this full moon. There's aspects that really provoke us to move forward. And what happens when things provoke us to move forward and we don't? Well, we can get even more stuck or more miserable. So as scary as it is, we must find a way to let life move forward. Before I get going, want to just remind you one more time, my third book is out, Divination Rules. It's 100 tips for flawless fortune telling. It's got amazing artwork. For example, one of the rules is wear a protective amulet to ward off the evil eye. It talks about what that is. Or tarot cards. It's completely up to you to choose whether or not you read reversed cards or not. So it's full of insightful tips on all different levels of divination and a little bit of history. I have a book launch if you are in or going to be in the Montreal area, October 26th at Chapters Indigo in Pointe Claire, which is just across from the Fairview Mall near the Highway 40. If you are available, it's between 11 and 3 p.m. and you can come buy your book or bring the one you bought online and I'll sign it, or just come and say hello. And I will also the following week, November 1st, same place, Chapters Indigo, Pointe Claire, I'll be giving a free divination workshop. And I'm bringing a bunch of fun stuff to the book launch as well, so that you'll get to see, some fun tools and test them out, touch them, see if you like it. There's one that you could try anywhere in the store. And then, of course, at home too. So this is a really fun topic. I'm really hoping, that people are ready to get into it. I've had one interview already with Victor Furman at Om Times Radio. If you ever want to look for that, you can find that on my Facebook, the links, or on my website, or on Om Times Radio, New York City. And I have another interview coming up for Talk Radio New York City. No, I'm not from New York. I just love New York. I love New Yorkers. It's the way it worked out in my life. So I have another interview with New York Talk Radio coming up on October 23rd. So I'll definitely put links to that and put it up here on my YouTube channel. I think that's about it. Let's dive into this chart. And of course, as usual, I'd ask you to like, subscribe, and share. I really like it if people share. To me, that's the ultimate compliment. Like, if you like my page, great, I'm happy, and you want to see more. But to me, the biggest compliment is that you like it enough to share it with other people. So, like and share. All right, let's take a look-see. You can see tons of aspects going on, right? Lines everywhere in this chart. As we've seen with so many, like they can be skewed where all the aspects are at the bottom. They can seem like there's hardly anything going on. Sometimes they look like they're all mushed in one quadrant or another. And this one is all over. So very well balanced in terms of all the elements and most of the houses. And it's, you know, it's a paradoxical chart like usual, but sometimes full moons are more paradoxical. I say that because the sun is always opposite the moon, so there's always one pull one way and another pull another way. With every full moon is like that. New moon, the sun and moon align, so you feel things coming together, and it's a new moon, so you launch something new, you plant the seeds of something new. And it's internal as well with the new moon. So it's a dark moon, so it's more like a inner alignment, planting seeds. Full moon is like, how are you doing with that? How are you doing? What's happening? There's pressure now. You're looking for the opposite vantage point. And so there's a test, there's emotional pressure, there's a chance to see something come to light that you didn't see. There could be conflicts because sun opposite moon means, in essence, every full moon, sun opposite moon is your identity, who you are, is opposite to what you need. And often people born, by the way, on a full moon who have sun opposite moon, classically, we usually suspect that they are children of divorce. Somehow the masculine and the feminine principles are at odds, sun and moon. And maybe these people had to play two sides of the coin with one parent or the other. But when there is such a push-pull of identity versus needs going on in the chart, it could mean the parents separate in this life. It could mean also that at the time you're born, they were going through a rough patch. And then you were more sensitized to the conflict or to the, that dichotomy that's there. So when we have the sun in Libra, and it's right there, as you see on the ascendant, it's like 24 degrees, ascendant is 26. It's technically in the 12th house, but it's really on the first house cusp, the ascendant. Sun on the ascendant in Libra is pretty strong in order to like bring out and emphasize that Libran energy of, negotiating, mediating, beautifying, weighing things, socializing, networking. Certainly lots of stuff with aesthetics, making things beautiful, making things harmonious, clean. But that pull with Aries is very strong because it is doubled up with Chiron on the moon there. And the Aries moon, some of you watching me know what I say about Aries moons all the time. They're very strong. They're very warrior-like. So a Libra with an Aries moon, like this full moon chart, would be somebody who's generally pleasant and social and maybe accommodating and charming and, you know, balancing things out. But the Aries moon would rear its ugly head like a Jekyll and Hyde. And this person actually has a lot of anger underneath the surface. This could be like somebody who, because they're spending so much time trying to be pleasant and fair to everybody, the rage in the Aries moon might be even stronger. And therefore, you know, it comes out as road rage, or some people comes out in your music taste, or your, it's like the most lovely, you know, Martha Stewart type housewife lady who watches horror flicks, you know, or who like, you know, I'm just picturing like Thanksgiving dinners right now, stabbing the turkey a little too hard, or like the rage comes out. You're going to see it somehow in their frustration, their anger, their impatience, maybe just like I said, roughness or raw emotions in related to something you don't expect it should be. And Chiron is there, which is the wound of the self. So the moon and Chiron together, oh my goodness, we're dealing with a lot of wounds of our identity and ourselves this full moon. Everybody. And Chiron added to an Aries moon, it's the kind of thing where somebody who hasn't learned to process and deal with their emotions very well could have very big reactions and be very over the top in their reactivity with Moon and Chiron. So, you know, in a very low vibration way, let's say somebody might look at somebody the wrong way and they go, "But you want a piece of me?" kind of attitude. That could be like a Moon and Aries Chiron thing, because their ego is very threatened by the way that they were looked at in the wrong way, and so they react and they're ready to fight. That would be a Moon Chiron reaction. This is a raw level. A lot of people won't react that way, but there will be that, because a lot of people are very sort of raw and instinctive, right? And like I said, that kind of raw anger, rage, frustration, reactivity can come out anywhere. So I would be careful driving on these days, in and around the full moon. I would be careful with equipment and machinery. I would probably not complain at work or to, I don't know, you know, a manager at a restaurant or something. It is not the time. There could be like a that comes out of this that you don't really want or expect. Now, the other thing going on that makes all of this more intense is that we have a fixed cross and a fixed square, meaning the sun is 180 degrees, so opposite Moon Chiron, but it is also squaring Pluto 90 degrees. So there's a square, and it is also squaring Mars up here. And then Mars is exactly opposite Pluto. So you have crisscross and fixed square, all in these cardinal signs, including the Pluto. Thank you very much. That's why I say, like, this is the pinnacle, the tipping point, the turning point, the final bow, if you will. And then get off stage. You know, what is this dramatic last act before you take your curtain call and you say thank you? You know, what's that going to be? Because Pluto has been affecting Capricorn, Libra, Cancer, and Aries for 16 years. And now we have planets in all those signs, and they are all squaring off in the last pass as it goes direct. Oh, people, it's hard to put it in any clearer terms. There's inner conflict and there's outer conflict. There's a need to really be honest with any of these conflicts, inner or outer. You must ask yourself, is this really that new? You know, Aries moon could be reacting as if everything is just some horrible, brand new, out of nowhere moment. How could they? How dare they? What are they doing? Why'd you look at me? What are you saying? You know, kind of, but you must, with these planets, you must be honest. Do you always react badly with traffic or someone cutting you off on the road? Do you get defensive when people say certain things or look at you certain ways often? Are you busy trying to please everybody to your own detriment, Libra? And then we add Mars and Cancer up there. It doesn't like direct conflict. It's going to do it very like, okay. Non-direct, passive-aggressive, emotional manipulation style conflict. It's not the moon in Aries. What? You're looking at me. What are you doing? Mars and Cancer is like, what's wrong? Nothing. Clearly there's something. You know, Libra might try to cheer them up. I'm sure whatever it is, it's going to be fine. Maybe I can do this for you. Maybe if you go outside a little bit, maybe you could do this. Maybe if we change your hair. Mars and Cancer's like, they don't understand. They just withdraw. Moody, sulky. Not good. Not easy. Mars and Cancer is not the best placement. It's in its fall. So it doesn't use the assertive energies well. It makes them personal and emotional and indirect. So Libra will not be able to talk them out of it or cheer them up out of it. Mars square Sun. Moon in Aries, Chiron could get very reactive to a Mars and Cancer reaction. Right? Imagine somebody who's ready to like blow some steam if somebody looks at them the wrong way, and you have Mars and Cancer going, you really? Oh, is that what you're? Okay, no, you do you. Right? Can you feel like the passive aggressiveness in that? Can you feel like the withholding in that? Moon in Aries is going to go, what? Just tell me. Just tell me. Just spit it out. Tell me what it is. I'm going to go like, no. Just frustrate them so much. Okay, so the moon Mars, it could be volatile. We really have to be careful of our reactivity under this full moon. However, I'm going to just say this. If something really provokes a strong reaction out of you right now, because there's so much closure in this chart of a long chapter, I mean, for some of you, you've got to take a look at what do you keep doing over and over again here that isn't working. You got to own it and move forward. Others of you, you might need to be pushed over that edge where you finally say, you know what? No. And you may never say no, but you need to say no. Something like that. So if you, that's a very personal thing. If you feel so reactive, so hurt, so angry, like if you don't have a moment to step back and go, well, is this a pattern for me? Can I choose to react differently here? That would be great. If you can't, well, sometimes these reactions and outbursts, and sometimes, you know, messiness needs to happen to close a door, to stop doing something you've been doing if you've been self-destructive in any way, or you haven't been honest with yourself in some way. So, you know, I believe there's all kinds of things that count as healing, even if they don't look all perfect and neat and pious to everybody. Sometimes you need to say, just sometimes your soul needs to say F off to something. Or other times you really, you know, if you fly off the handle all the time and you're escalating and it's gone way above, like you will know, people around will be like, they won't want to deal with it. They won't want to deal with you. They won't tell you what's going on. Like they've had enough, or it's very awkward. You know, so this is why I say it's very personal. It's very sort of touchy thing. So some of you need to take a look at what you chronically are doing and admit, like, this has reached a max here. I can't keep doing this. And others of you are going to need the reaction, the purge. But it does feel like there is a tipping point. There, you know, many people, especially falling under those signs, and especially if you're close to those degrees. So 24 degrees, Aries, Libra, Mars is in Cancer, 29 Pluto. You're looking at towards the end of the signs. So if you are Aries, well, yeah, if you're looking at like around the 17th, 18th of the month, if you're October 17, 18, if you're July 17, 18, that kind of thing, April or January, because then the degrees really hit you, especially the 29 Pluto. If you are like January, you know, 19th, 20th, it's hitting you hard. It's hitting you hard. So that'll mean for you in particular, when it hits you by degree, it really is like move on, close the door, decide, admit, change course, you know. And we have to be honest during this time frame. Like I said, none of this is new. You have to really look at, like, oh my gosh, what have I been chronically putting up with that I just can't? What do I constantly run into as a pattern that I am just done? I don't want to do it anymore. What ways of thinking am I battling with all the time that I'm just can't anymore? That kind of thing. It might be heightened, but again, like, it's not new. It's not out of nowhere. And by being aware that it, and taking a look at how there's a pattern, that's what allows you to break the pattern and say, oh, wow, I am always going towards this type of person, and it tends not to work out. Okay, so ding, 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 let's stop this here. Let's really be more careful. Let's ask a few questions. Let's probe a little deeper. Let's be a little more patient, whatever it is, so you don't repeat the pattern. And of course it's scary, but you've got to move forward and move on. Okay, 1 second now. I'm doing this like around supper time. So again, I'm playing with the curtains and the light. Sorry about that, everyone. There we go, it's better. For a while, the light was like pouring through a tree and it was blowing, and I was getting like, my face was glowing like an alien, and then it was going dark. So I had the curtains shut. So what else is going on here? Mars and Pluto opposite. Again, very volatile. Pluto in Capricorn is very strong and dominant, and can be very practical, but also very cold and, you know, very patriarchal, authoritative. Now, opposite Mars, I mean, in Cancer, again, Mars in Cancer can aggravate it, Pluto in Capricorn, but it won't defeat it. But it can sure aggravate it. Again, if Pluto in Capricorn wants to come along and say, okay, I'm the boss, it's my show. Here's what you're doing. Here's your role. Here's what you are. And Mars in Cancer goes, okay. And then Pluto in Capricorn could get very angry. It's like, you got a problem with that? I'm telling you what it is. I'm telling you, this is your part in it. This is what I need you to do. Can you do that? Mars in Cancer would be like, I guess. Or cry or something. So it won't defeat, but it can like wear it down, because Pluto wants to be very clear that they are in charge and very intense about it. And if somebody's all moody and won't go along with what they want, it will bother them. It will get on their nerves. So it all depends what side of this coin you are on, or who you're dealing with. But you know, we will all be dealing with people's moodiness and reactivity, control and resistance with this fixed square and fixed cross. You've got 4 leadership signs. Not fixed like Taurus, Scorpio, where it could be explosive. They still give a little budge, but they all want to be the dominant. They all want to be the leader. They all want to be the star. They just do it in different ways to undermine each other when they're squaring off. So I think I've illustrated that pretty well. You could probably feel the struggles in the air. And as I said, sometimes you won't have any conflicts or anything outright or anything obvious. Sometimes you might just be exhausted and physically achy and stuff like that. It can play out definitely physically. Or you might just be really weepy and grieving stuff. You might, like, something old might be coming out too. If there's no apparent struggle or conflict with anyone around you directly, you might be revisiting and processing ones that are in the body that need to come up and out, like old memories could happen as well. And either way, it is closure. Like we said, it's 16-year cycle is closing out. And you might find yourself suddenly remembering a relationship, an ending, you know, a job change, something major, a loss of somebody. It might just come out of nowhere. It's all purging the old. So let's look at where the chart is working really nicely. And then there's a couple more squares to talk about, but so Mercury over here in Scorpio, making a lovely trine to Saturn in Pisces. Both water signs, Mercury and Saturn, that's going to actually be very good for deep conversations, for having compassion, for including emotions and talking about deeper psychological issues. Or it's sort of a therapeutic angle, it feels to me. Mercury trine Saturn in the water signs. You might have some really amazing, deep conversations. So in the midst of this conflictual stuff, either you'll be able to have a great, deep conversation with somebody that, you know, maybe that helps you, whether that is your therapist, or it's a mentor, or your mom or dad or brother, good friend, Or, you know, maybe you will be able to work out a conflict that came up because there is enough emotional maturity and understanding in the air to resolve it. That would be wonderful, right? It requires depth and navigating the emotions and acceptance and patience with people, but it's possible. It's a very nice aspect here. And the absolute best aspect here is that same Mars I mentioned, this moody Cancer Mars, is actually making a nice trine to Venus in Scorpio and makes a nice trine to Neptune in Pisces, as well as Mars is trine Saturn as well. So again, triple water. It feels much more like a watery chart to me than a Libra Aries raw kind of chart. There's a good flow of emotion, desire, intuition. Mars in Cancer, I've given you like the worst side of it because we're talking about it in conflict. But Mars in Cancer, when it's working well, so when it's happy with Venus and Neptune, it's amazing. Psychic, tuned into you, thoughtful, caring and protective, zoning in on like, are you okay? I don't know, I'm feeling something with you. And then someone says, yeah, oh, thank you for noticing. And then you have a deep conversation because somebody was sensitive enough to feel you and bring it up. Somebody that's very tender. Somebody might make you a nice cup of tea and then you have a good cry. And Mars, Venus, Neptune in water could bring you some amazing intuition, insights, visions, strong gut feelings. Feeling very much in sync with another person brings a lot of intimacy. This is where Mars in Cancer works the best, and this is the best angle in the whole chart. So Mercury, Saturn is separate. It's not part of that trine, but it's still strengthening it because we've got two aspects trining Saturn and Pisces. It's a very watery chart. So that means the cliche, folks, you have to feel it to heal it. The more you can deal on an emotional level and your intuitive level, the better you will flow through this chapter's end. What would be an example? Let's go back to that first thing I mentioned of like that raw moon, Chiron, Aries. What? You're looking at me. What are you looking at me for? Right? Now, what if that person first has that reaction, but instead of saying, you want a piece of me, they step back and go, I'm feeling something about this person, and taps into, what is it? What is that energy? What is the, you know, where am I feeling that? What am I getting off of this person here? What sort of message am I feeling for how to proceed in that situation? It's on a very different level than reacting, right? And biting. And it just takes a little moment to go, wait a second. I'm feeling a vibe here. Okay. Well, maybe you would have enough insight in that moment to say, all right, I don't like the way I was just looked at, but that's that person's stuff. I didn't do anything. So I'm not going to get defensive. I'm not going to react. That this person's having a bad day. And that's where the Saturn and Pisces comes in, or Neptune and Pisces is the compassion, where you step back and you're like, this isn't my stuff. This isn't about me. Okay, take it one further. Maybe this person is feeling fragile. Maybe this person's really having a rough time and that's why they're acting that way. And then it's not personal to you. And you have some empathy for them. That's the ultimate. And that's where these water trines could take us if you allow yourself. You can do that when it's processing your old feelings too. Memory comes back, you're reliving something, you're trying to remember, you still have the same old raw pain or sadness or rejection or whatever's coming up from that past example. Instead of analyzing it all over again or picking up the phone and messaging after all these years or whatever you might be compelled to do instead, you could step back and try to go, okay, that was, maybe it was 15 years ago, 16 years, something in the last 16 years. And go, okay, am I the same version of me now that I was then? No. Are they the same version of them? Probably not. Can you see with a bit of detachment what headspace you were truly in and where they were at and how it might have clashed, and that it's not a carryover to today. It doesn't have to keep repeating whatever that pain was in new relationships, same old dynamic where it didn't work out then and you keep trying to replay it and work it out now. If you go back to that source memory, if it's coming up, and recognize like, okay, I was not in a good place at the time that happened, and neither were they. So you can find some forgiveness, say, well, I don't love the way that went down. I don't love the way I acted or they acted. But if you can really be strong and say, you know, maybe the way I said X or Y, or the way I didn't do something that I could have done or whatever, maybe that affected the way they treated me. Maybe I could admit that to myself and move forward. The more we can take, you know, personal accountability of our own stuff, give other people theirs back, we're going to move on. We're going to grow. We're going to deepen our understanding, and we're going to deepen our future and current relationships. So this tipping point, whatever brings you to that tipping point, it's going to require a lot of self-compassion and compassion for others to get to this sort of elevated or ascended level and see it in a different way. The other aspect that we have going on here that's worth mentioning is Jupiter is still in Gemini. Remember, we said Jupiter in Gemini just wants to do like 25 projects and has 13 parties to go to next week. And they're busy bobbing around, being a chameleon between all these different roles and people that they're in. And then they get exhausted and crash and have to, because it's hard to maintain that. Jupiter is trine the sun in Libra, as it was last time. And no, I don't remember what oh no, it was trine Mercury last time, right? Air signs help out air signs. There's still a lot of, you know, for some people, there's still just like a pure socializing going on. They're not going to go deeper into their emotional state. However, Jupiter is square Saturn and Neptune now in Pisces, so there will be pressure to not just stay on like the surface of things, or to not start 15 things and not finish them. You know, there's a more grounded, watery feeling here, like of not just leaving things all in this mental ideas zone, brainstorming forever, and to ground it more there's a bit more pressure. And I think, yeah, Venus is opposite Uranus too. That's another thing. Sorry, Uranus is making sextiles, so that's okay. Nothing crazy going on there. But Uranus opposite Venus, again, is a different type of volatile energy, but meaning like you might have a very strong desire for something and Uranus comes and still throws it off, like throws a monkey wrench in it, throws a surprise in the mix. So, yeah. Let me try to just synthesize this because I've said a lot. The main feeling I'm getting off this chart is that you will feel that your needs are not being met, or you will be reminded of times and ways that your needs are not met. And there will be a number of different reactions to that, depending on who you share it with and who's around. Some aren't going to get it. Some are going to oppose you. Some are going to try to control you. But some are going to be able to have enormous depth and compassion. And that's who you need to seek out. And let that energy flow and express yourself and try to make decisions to move forward, to move out of old patterns. This has been a very chunky chart. Okay. Let's take a look to the tarot now. See if it adds anything else to the mix. And yeah, let's burn the sage. Oh, I mean, I can feel it coming already, even though it's a few days in advance as I make this video. But I always tend to feel things a few days or a week in advance, and by the time the aspect hits, I feel like I've cleared something. So I'm in the midst of clearing it right now in advance. And as are other sensitive people I know, and we're all extremely tired. And the veils are already thinning between worlds for Samhain, for Halloween, because I've been visited by spirit more again lately, and other people have mentioned to me as well. So the veils have thinned early, even though it's supposed to be the 31st. We're early. Doesn't matter. Probably because of that Venus in Scorpio and Mercury in Scorpio and the trines with the water. It's easier to open the gates earlier. Alrighty, so what does the tarot have to add as far as advice for this full moon? The Death card, well, say no more. Jeez. Well, I mean, it's just reiterating, but the Death card is good. It's not bad. It feels like something is ripped away from you, or doesn't work, or is dying or dead, that you thought you had no clue it was coming. It brings something better in its place. Okay. For example, I'll give you like a very recent example that I'm living through, because I don't get many Death card moments, but just to show you how they play out. I met somebody that I was chatting with, like a potential date. It was going nicer and nicer, started to feel closer and closer, chatting almost every day. Messages, not videos. We're supposed to come up and visit, like, which was requiring a drive of a few hours. So I was feeling hopeful, and obviously he was too. And then one discussion brought up politics. We didn't agree on some stuff. And the anger and the projection and the misunderstanding started, and it just seemed to erase this whole month of everything else that we had in common. I know this is not a new experience for any of us. We're in a very strange times of polarizing and canceling, and so I let him know we don't need to lose a friendship or a potential relationship over a disagreement. We've had a moment and we can overcome. And he agreed, and then I haven't heard a thing. And that would be a death card, right? Completely bamboozled me, did not see this coming because I thought we had so many other values in common that it surprised me when that actually came up. But the death card brings something better in its place. So I wait to see, does this person come back and surprise me? Or I've met somebody else who seems even more aligned than the other one. That's how the death card can work. And it was just like, quick. It's quick. So for you, expect that if you feel like something is upsetting, shocking, like, or a loss, something, a surprise, don't get too upset. Something better replaces it. Second card, Queen of Cups. Well, that's just a very watery, emotional sign. This is like a Cancer, a Scorpio, a Pisces woman. She's very connected to how she feels. She's connected to her psyche, her intuition, her dreams. She can tap into things for herself and for other people. Very empathic, very self-protective. It's all what we've been saying. It's very interesting. And then we've got the Prince of Discs, which, see, I wasn't asking about my own life. Now I feel like I've given myself a reading with this. But anyway, this is usually somebody who's charming and they want things to be comfortable and easy and not require too much work. They like their luxuries. Crawley did not like this card. This guy basically said it was like a lazy, self-indulgent person. He could be, but he also could be insecure and resistant for some reason. But the main thing is, like, you have a down-to-earth, overall sort of down-to-earthy person who doesn't seem to want to step up. So he can be very frustrating. Let's just pull one more. And then we've got a Knight of Wands, which is representing a strong will. This person is charging in. Very sure. Definitely going to act on things. So, this could be playing out as it did in my situation. It could also be playing out in terms of the people around you that you think might step up but don't, and then other people step in. That could happen, with work as well. Customers you think are going to sign or buy and don't, and another one steps in. A job you thought you had it in the bag, you had an interview, they say no, another one comes in. That's how the death card plays out. So if you're in pain about whichever thing didn't work out, the one the one that steps in is more likely this King of Wands, which is a much stronger option, much more reliable option than the first one. So the Death card brings something better. Let's take a look at for your sign readings now. All right, let's take a look at how can we phrase this. And I'm just going to ask, what is your tipping point? What could bring you to your tipping point, or what is it related to? Perfect question. All right, I like it when it comes quickly. It's a good sign. And we're going to burn more sage first. And if you'd like to join me for 1 second, I'm going to do a little quick meditation because it's just such deep energy right now. So as I burn the sage, I'd like you to just close your eyes, if you will, and envision that you've got a bubble of white light all around you. You could see a sphere of light and step inside, or you can see a soft glow just sort of slowly envelops you front and back, up and down, under your feet, everywhere. Or you might feel something more dynamic, like maybe you see a waterfall of light and you step under the water, or you see a swirl. Whatever works for you. It could be white, could be light yellow, gold, pinkish, light bluish, but bright light. Okay? Just see that all around you, head to toe, front and back. And I'm going to ask Archangel Michael to join us and help us remove anything in, on, or around us no longer for our highest good. Take that to the light. All right, let's take a look now. So what is your tipping point related to Aries? Hmm. 10 of discs, so it's related to money. Money, investments, unemployment, inheritance, winnings, dividends. It's money that comes in a chunk. And maybe you're lucky and it's a lotto. It could just be a loan repaid. It could be, like I said, applying for social assistance. That's still a chunk that's given to you that you didn't work for officially, or that it's not direct how you worked for it. And it could be a state, it could be something that you didn't expect money coming in. But your tipping point is related to finances. So that would make sense with Aries when Pluto has been traveling through your house of career for 16 years. Is it time for you to up the ante with your commitment to your career? Meaning, do you take a higher role? Do you ask for a raise? Do you charge differently for your services? Does anyone owe you that hasn't paid you in the career realm or for your work? And to think about your finances going forward. Pluto is going to move into your 11th house, which is about communities and friendships for a very long time, 20 years. So this looks to me like cleaning up your financial life. It can be anything from your actual budget to your ideas about money and about wealth. Didn't really expect that one for Aries. Taurus, what is your tipping point about? Ten of Swords. Ruin. This is the ultimate overthinking, worrying to death kind of card. It's interesting that we're getting 2 10s in a row here as well, because the 10th card is the end point, the saturation point. Ten of Swords, though, is somebody in mental anguish. So Taurus, your tipping point could be something that throws you into anxiety and overthinking and the worry of the century here. And it doesn't mean that whatever you're worrying about or your worst case scenario fantasies doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's more about addressing the worst case scenario fantasies that you get. The level of erosion to your nervous system based on the way you're overthinking and worrying. Yeah, pretty severe stuff there. But it's really important that you address this and start to counteract some of those, spirals that you can get yourself into, and test for reality. Is this thing that you're scared of or worrying about so much or over analyzing, is it even really happening? Is it really likely to happen? How much control do you really have over whatever this is? And also just to really address the nature of your thoughts. If you're having negative, judgmental towards yourself or others, if you're sort of creating really dark worst case scenarios, because the Ten of Swords is really like, you can't take it anymore. You can't keep thinking that in this way or speaking in certain ways anymore. It's done. Pluto has been going through your 11th house. Excuse me. No. Sorry, I have to mentally like picture a chart and figure this out. No, your 9th house, sorry. So, that's interesting because that's all about your philosophy of life, higher learning and philosophy. And that's what's closing off. So that's interesting. You probably need to lay to rest a lot of mental constructs. And that's a tough one. If you've been on the fence or pondering and meandering and just gathering info forever and not really committing and deciding, that might be the point that you're at where you're just, you can't think it through anymore. This card means you must get out of your head and into your heart or into your body now. There's nothing more to think through. It's actually gone so far that it's distorted and it's making you ill. So this is what your tipping point is about. Geminis, what is your tipping point about? Eight of Swords. Well, similar. The 10 is worse, but the 8 is pretty bad too, because it's interference. This is the Jupiter and Gemini card. What did we say already about Jupiter and Gemini? You see, there's just far too many swords. All of them are cool, but it's like being in the room with multiple directions, multiple philosophies of life, things that are maybe perhaps a bit too different to integrate together. Or very tough. So this is again like the beginning of the analysis paralysis. So for you, Gemini, I think your tipping point is about having Jupiter in your sign and all the ways that that has made you sort of be yourself times 10. And you will need to face that you have to let go of some things and scale back on some things. You'll have to step back and admit what is aligned and what isn't aligned. You might need to quit something, fire someone. You might need to just not be available for a meeting or a committee you said you'd be on. Like you've overcommitted and you're over analyzing, overthinking everything as well. So it's really time to simplify your life, simplify things down again. That would be your tipping point. So that could come in any form. Somebody might ask you to just do that one more thing and you go, oh my God, I can't. I've been doing everything and I've been maintaining it, but this one more thing is going to send me over the edge. You know, or you might be asked to participate in something and you really, really want it, but you can't keep up with everything. And now you've got to decide which thing is going to give because you really like the other one. So yeah, you've got some decisions of letting go to make as your tipping point. Answer. What's your tipping point? All right. Well, 3 of discs, Mars and Capricorn, you need to work. Be productive. Get things back in order. Wheels in motion. Rise to a new level with your productivity. Some of you might be on the other end of that where you are overextended workaholic. You know, Mars and Capricorn here is ambitious, but it's not going crazy. It's not working all the time and has no life. So you have to ask yourself, where are you at on this productivity scale? You know, are you pushing your goals forward adequately? Are you pushing too hard, too fast, expecting too much, burning yourself out? Are you procrastinating, not doing enough? Are you meandering around and like doing a whole lot of nothing when you could be much more efficient? So for you, the tipping point is really like you have to really rebalance and adjust your work life, your productivity. Even though Pluto's been going through your 7th house, which is relationships. It's funny. These messages of tipping points aren't aligning with the classic houses where the challenges have been. So that's very interesting to me. Nobody's cards, not like yours or the others. So yeah, Cancer, it's time to really take a look at the systems and structures of your life, the routines, the habits, it's only asking you to be productive and try to do your best, but not burn yourself out and go too overboard. And you'll have to be honest with yourself if you've been procrastinating or lazy or wasting time or doing things inefficiently, or whether you haven't had a moment to go out and have any fun because you're working too hard. There's something in there to rebalance. Alrighty, Leos, what is your tipping point? Okay, and he's coming up again. This is like second time. So Leo, as we mentioned in the earlier part of the reading, this guy is down to earth, but he's also not facing forward, and he's sitting there naked on his on his chariot, and he's sort of letting the bull do all the work, and he's not really steering. There's something about, this could be you, this could be someone close to you, isn't really stepping up to do the work, isn't really fully committed, isn't fully qualified. Could be just wanting a lot more for nothing, like somebody who wants to be overpaid but isn't doing the work. Could be somebody just around you who's sluggish and lazy and just not very, not super bright or talented, so they're not getting very far. But there's something here where the only way this is going to get better with this card is if he turns around, faces forward, takes the reins with both hands, and steers. And it's, then it's formidable. So he's really got to straighten his head out here. That could be, if that's you and you're having a hard time buckling down and getting things done, if you can admit, maybe you've been a bit sluggish yourself about getting things done, or there's something that you're not fully facing. Otherwise, it's somebody around you that, and it's funny, it's hard because this kind of person's usually like easy and going enough and charming enough. So it's not always obvious that they're slowing things down for the group, because they'll be fairly likable. So if you're a boss, if you're running a company, if you're, I don't know, even if you're a teacher in the classroom, you have to think about, is there anyone, and trust your gut, is there anyone that's sort of slowing things down for everyone? Or is there anyone who's sort of poisoning the environment for everyone with their attitude? And you'll need to address that. Whatever is within your power to address. Virgos, what is your tipping point? Tower, right? Okay. Oh, okay. So remember before at the beginning of the reading, I said, sometimes in order to heal, you have to do something that seems out of character and people would not understand it, but you need to do it. Your soul needs to do it. Well, this is one of those times, Virgo. You might need to tell someone, I can't, I'm not going to be there, or you don't show up, or you tell that boss, no, I always come in on my day off, I'm not doing it. Or you might quit the job because you can't stand it any longer. If it's interpersonal, you might just let her rip with somebody that it's been long, long, long overdue. Virgos don't, like, even though they see through things and they see things in detail and they're critical, they usually don't lose it unless it's really big. It takes a lot for the Virgo to actually lose control and be done, or yell, or whatever, quit, fire, kick out, break up with, whatever it is. So this definitely, when it's the Tower, has been long, 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 long overdue. And the Tower means you have had enough. Something, this could be within you, that something just bubbles and boils and you are like, there is no way I'm going back in there. Or, you know what? I don't have it in me. That's it. I don't want any more conversations. It's over for me. Whatever it happens to be. But something is finished. The thing is, the Tower never feels very good while you're going through it. And it could be something that happens that's external to you, and your reaction is the Tower. Whatever needs to leave your life right now is for your own highest good. So I would say, like, if you get to that point where you are boiling that much, it's overdue. Let it happen. Let it, whatever it is, fall away from your life. Because the Tower does liberate you. And you can't keep hanging on forever. You have, it's, something's got to be done. It's not okay. Whatever's going on is not okay. Well, that sounds mysterious, doesn't it? But I'm sure if you're a Virgo, there'll be something that comes to mind. Libras, what is your tipping point? The Sun. Interesting. Hmm. Well, this feels like a nice tipping point. Something might change the landscape for you in a nice way. For Libras, Pluto's been going through your fourth house of family and home, and been bringing up all kinds of stuff, whether it's renovations or family issues or secrets, things that were, you know, taboo before and now they're out in the open, or crazy neighbors. Like, it's always around your sense of home and security. And Pluto can bring anything from constant renovations and cities ripping up the road in front of your house, to people that are ill around you, to finding out stuff about the family that you didn't really want to know, and it makes you probe deeper. And so finally this chapter's ending for you, and the Sun card is very nice. Like, your tipping point might actually be that you now feel you can bond and get closer to people again, that there's actually some peace coming in there, and there might actually be more joy through your kids or your grandkids. If you don't have that, then children in and around the family somehow. So that's actually very nice, very nice. It could be a bonding experience or an act of kindness or generosity, that it's a tipping point for you to have hope again, or to get closer, or to, if it's in the case of, you know, your roots in your actual house. Oh, pardon me. The tipping point, if it's positive, could be, yeah, like, it's something nice, bringing something into the home that's nice. Is that more friends? Is that more family? Is that something beautiful that you've always wanted, or shifting the, it could be, but it's a harmonious and beautiful, it's an upgrade for you. That's lovely, lovely, especially now that it's your birthday. All right. Scorpios. What is your tipping point this full moon? You got the Chariot. Okay. Well, the Chariot is, you know, it's somebody who's very armored, as you can see, and we can't really see who they are. And a lot of the time, if you're on a Scorpio, that you're also trying to maintain an armor and have full control over what people see and don't see, and how they see you, how much they know about you and how much they don't, their perception of you, if you can manage it. And this would definitely speak about you removing some of the armor, and especially with that lovely water trine that we have, where there's enormous potential for closeness and intimacy, and really making inroads in your healing or in your relationships with people, you will need to relax the armor. You'll need to take off the helmet and let people see you and let yourself breathe. And that is already huge for Scorpios. The other aspect of the Chariot is, again, like control, and he or she behind the armor is trying to get these four figures on board and in motion to set the chariot in motion, and it's not working. They're just standing there like statues. And yet there's this huge disc coming from the solar plexus, and that would be an enormous power, but it's also could be an enormous ego. And so for you, it's really a big examination of, why do I have so much protection and armor? Why am I so afraid to be seen? Or why do I need to feel like I'm always in control? What's really going on there? Can I just tone that down and let people in, trust some people, show them a bit who I am? And yeah, it's a deep dive for you to really examine that. It's a simple message, but it's a very deep thing to do. All right. Sagittarius, what is your tipping point? Seven of discs, so yours is also on the material plane. Even though for Sag, you're well, no, Pluto's been in your second house of money. So you have a final tipping point with money. Pluto's been going through your house of money for 16 years. Saturn and Taurus, seven of discs. Saturn and Taurus is here to learn what it's worth. What is worth what? What am I worth? Am I worth being treated well? Am I worth the amount that I'm asking for my profession? Am I worth taking care of my body? Of course you are. Of course we are, right? A lot of us have self-worth issues. The other thing with Saturn and Taurus would be stability, loyalty, security, trust. And Saturn is the lesson, the life lesson. So you might have trouble creating that for yourself. You might have a long journey of, it's essentially self-worth to believe that you deserve to have a good life. You deserve to have a home, a roof over your head. You deserve to have support. You deserve to have some money. You deserve to be paid well for your skills. And if there's anything that you have been doing or not doing in relation to your money out of fear, it's probably going to come up to be cleaned up. So best way to do that is you have to rectify and come clean with your finances. You have to create budgets. You know, there might be a backlog of things to do to clean up your finances. And just remember that it all goes back to your sense of self-worth. It's not really about the money. The money is the metaphor. So that one actually does fit with the astrological house as well as the cards. Sorry, I just see a new cat across the road that was visiting my porch. Alrighty. Oh, Capricorn, what is your tipping point? Ah, and you have a nice one. Well, this is good. It's interesting because the ones so far for the cardinal signs who have had the hardest ones have decent tipping point cards, have sort of positive ones. Cancer was about productivity and work. Libra was like something heartwarming happening at home. And Capricorn's is virtue. Your tipping point is about finally seeing something so good about yourself and being grateful. And it's about you seeing more value to life than just the material plane, your money, your finances, your power. It's really, it's like an awakening of your spiritual side is your tipping point. You're a very strong sense of yourself and who you are on a deeper level than, how do you look? How much are you paid? Do you have the right car? Status stuff. Deeper than that. On a soul level, there's an awakening of you affirming yourself on a soul level. There's like a big reckoning for Capricorn here. It's sort of like one last push. Please accept yourself. Please love yourself, Capricorn. You've been through enough. You've been through a lot. Look around and accept yourself and accept where you're at as the perfect place. And you've done absolutely your best. And there's higher reasons why you're in your situation. And that your worth is not determined by your status. Capricorn. Aquarius. What is your tipping point? Justice. Okay. So for you, yeah, it's been in your 12th house. Pluto in your 12th house for 16 years. Oh my God, that's not easy. The inner demons and restlessness that you've had to deal with. Dreams, maybe night terrors, nightmares, strange states of mind, things that are happening that are very behind closed doors you don't talk about with just anybody, taboo stuff that you don't just want to bring up with anybody. Everything's been very much, and it could be at a very subconscious level. So not every one of you will be aware of it on that level, but some of you might be extremely activated over these years. Now it's going to move into your first house, and the Justice card is there. Your tipping point is literally the Justice card, like literally. If you have any legal matters, if you need things to be official or signed, I would do so. If there's any legal matters pending, then you'll have to probably tend to them. If it's on a pure justice, karmic kind of justice level, it's interesting since Pluto is emerging from this deep subconscious level of yourself into the first house. Now, the next many years will be a grand reckoning. There'll be lots of stuff that you're like, I've been there, I've done that, I've thought that through, I've suffered with X, Y, and Z. I am not revisiting and rehashing this. Now I will decide, I will implement, I will move forward, I will call it what it is. There's a lot of strength in this card. You are rebalancing, you are setting literally the scales of justice in your life, making a lot of decisions. You're weighing things and making a lot of final decisions. Feels to me very positive, even though it's not easy. So your tipping point will very likely involve a major decision that now you are forced to make. You can't stay on a fence. And finally, Pisces. What is your tipping point? Change. Well, that's not much of a tipping point. That's a little vague, isn't it? Very philosophical. Everything changes, everything's dark, everything's light, everything has both. Everything's a cycle of life. You already know that stuff. We're picking another one. Pisces, what is your tipping point? Okay, that's more like it's strength. 9 of Wands. You're defending your territory. You're defending what you've built so far, whether that's concrete stuff that you've built up, like a home, a business, your family. Could also be your ideals, your beliefs, your perceptions. You've put a lot of work into it and you are guarding it. There is opposition around you. You seem to be stepping up to it. Pluto has been going through your your 11th house for a very long time. So that makes you examine your role in your community and with your friendships, with any kind of group. And now it's going to be stepping into your 12th house. So you're preparing to go much deeper within and possibly into the more mystical or spiritual realms, possibly into more therapy, meditation, dream work. So for now, your tipping point seems to me to be standing up to opposition. People that naysay you, people that disagree with things that you are very strongly sure you know. And you're being tested a bit. And I think you're going to come out strong. And it's not that you're doing it out of being pig-headed or stubborn. It's not holding on to something for dear life, even though you don't really know it that well and you just decide to dig your heels in. These are things, like whatever you're tested on, these are things you know that you have truly come to terms with and decided for yourself. So they could be core beliefs, core values, and you're going to stand by yourself, which is awesome. So if any of you would like a private reading, you can message me here. Otherwise, please subscribe, like, and share. And if any of you are in the Montreal area, as I mentioned, on October 26th, chapters Indigo Point Claire, I will be there from 11 till 3, signing books and introducing you to a bunch of fun divination little stuff. So until the next new moon, I bid you adieu.